Healing wounds, even claims of anti-aging. What is this, the fountain of youth? No, it's called a peptide. So what in the world is that? Well, you've come to the right place to find out because I've got an expert with me. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Current Temp with Joey Solopek, my expert and another fan favorite. I've only got a couple of these. This is one, Miss Natalie Narrow of Trinity Health and Wellness. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
We're about to jump into the world of peptides. First, let me thank Lexus. Of course, we were just talking about the Lexus product, maybe trying to add one to the family. We'll see what happens there, but we're huge fans. And of course, thank you to Lexus of Memphis for all the support. And as you hear me say every single week, great men and women there and a phenomenal product. So why wouldn't you? All right. Natalie Narrow. If you don't know her, you should. Trinity Health and Wellness. She's been dealing in health and wellness issues for, would decades be?
A decade.
Okay, that be fair. I know that you've been helping a lot of patients because I hear from them when anytime they hear me say you're going to be on this show. I know you've got deep roots. Everybody is talking about the peptide.
Yes.
What in the world is a peptide?
A peptide is basically an amino acid. Amino acids are building blocks. A lot of people will compare it to a Lego. And so you have a bunch of Legos and you put the Legos together and you create a wall, which is typically like a peptide. And if you create 1, 2, 3, 4 walls, then you create a protein. So amino acids are just the base of all the proteins that are in our body, and peptides can be manipulated to do things.
Okay, great kickoff. Something I read that I liked, called it a protein messenger.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Sort of like maybe a blueprint.
Yes.
To get to places.
A text message.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear. And one of the reasons we've heard so much about it, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't peptide the P in GLP-1?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a critical part of, everybody's heard GLP-1 now.
Yes.
The P stands for peptide.
Mm-hmm. Glucagon-like peptide.
Okay, glucagon-like peptide. And so in a brief summary, what does that peptide do in weight loss?
So that peptide has been around for quite a while, but it's basically a key that fits into our cell receptors to unlock certain things that help our metabolism, whether it's suppressing appetite, whether it is blocking out the food noise. That's a big one we hear a lot. But each new GLP has added a different receptor, to unlock. So with semaglutide, that was a GLP-1. It unlocked one receptor. Then you had tirzepatide, which unlocks 2 receptors. And again, every time we unlock a receptor, we get better results.
And they're working on new ones now.
They have one that's doing 3 receptors.
Right. There's got a bunch in the pipeline. Okay, so let's stay on. I'm trying to keep everybody on track here.
You're good.
So peptides are these protein messengers, folks. They work as the body produces them.
Yes.
But they can also be manufactured and be synthetic. And so now we're going to get to that. I saw you. You're ready. I know you're ready. They theoretically are getting so much attention because they do deal with weight loss, muscle gain. I had someone who's an older gentleman tell me about how he's had more gains in the weight room because he's taken a peptide. Okay, how do you get that? How do you get a peptide? We're going to get to that. Better sleep, faster recovery, dealing with libido, skin and hair, anti-aging, healing properties.
Yes.
Are all those true?
Yes. So
with an
theoretically,
asterisk. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So theoretically, you're dive into that because that was a huge loaded question I asked you. So in theory, we could be seeing those benefits.
Yes. And most of this is anecdotal because there's not a lot of human research. A lot of the research has been done on animals, rats. There's specific peptides where they've taken a rat's Achilles and severed it and used a BPC 157 peptide, and it was able to heal faster than just regular surgery or anything else alone. And there's other things that you use it for too, tendons, ligaments, muscles.
Right.
But all of these things are very anecdotal and not wonderfully researched.
Okay, so that leads me to my next slide about our buckets. We've got different peptides to deal with. You and I were speaking about this yesterday. By the way, everything I know, I either learned from my walking encyclopedia of a wife or the other library right here, Natalie Narrow. The 3 peptide buckets are FDA approved. Research, you just mentioned the rats and the research, and I had a third one, which is like supplemental cosmetic. Let's explain those. Explain how you did to me.
So FDA approved peptides are, and there's not too many of them, but of course your top one that everybody knows is your GLPs. Those are FDA approved. Then you have things like oxytocin, which is considered a hormone, but it's also a non-amino peptide. We call it the love hormone, and it's supposed to help with pair bonding, but it's got a lot of other great properties. Recently, a new peptide came out, PT141. It's also on the market, brand name Vyleesi, and it's for libido and hypoactive sexual desire in women. So those are some of the popular ones and ones that are well known, that are well researched. Then you have your research peptides, and that is what we call the gray market.
Okay, before you dive into that, let me set it up. I asked you, okay, where do you get a peptide? And you said, well, you have to go online, and there are all these places, some of which may or may not be legit, that will say to you, this is for research purposes only. Okay, is that true?
That is true.
Okay, so explain that.
So research purpose only peptides is the way that this entity, whoever creates these online entities, is able to get peptides out to rats.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Do you see what she's saying here? You have to put it online and market it that it's for research purposes only for rats.
Your pet rat.
For your pet rat. But that's how, I guess, they're working the system to get it into people's hands.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
The problem, and we're pro-peptide is what I'm because there are benefits to this. The
Absolutely.
problem is that you can't regulate that. And so you've got any Jane or John or whoever, am I right? So it's not, you're wondering what you're getting.
Yes.
Okay.
And the gray market is, what they've said and what we've seen is that they're testing these things, and most of these substances are fairly clean, and maybe it's the right product in there, but you don't know really what you're getting. A lot of patients will, you have to get bacteriostatic water and you have to mix it, and there's no dosing arrangement. You have no way to know what you're giving yourself, whether an amount or what the product actually is. And so there is some definite drawbacks to that, and you shouldn't just be giving yourself peptides without physician approval, because there are some downsides to these things too.
Okay, and that's I'm kind of wrapping this all together, and you've made me a believer, because, and correct me if I get this definition wrong, but one of the things you explained to me is you're trying to bring these health practices, these wellness practices to the public, to people who don't know about it. I was one of those. I still am. I'm still learning. This is one of those things. They're more natural. The body already produces them, but this is something that, even though we've got to be careful, could have huge upsides. Is that true or false?
Yes, I do. I do agree, because there are the people that have been treated anecdotally. Let's say they have Crohn's disease, which is a horribly debilitating gut issue, ulcerative colitis, and there is enough anecdotal and some research that shows that BPC 157, there's a KPV that's also helpful, TB 500, all of these different peptides can actually heal the gut and, I don't want to say reverse, but improve Crohn's outcomes. The same thing with, like you said, recovery. There's GHK-Cu, that's a copper peptide that helps with hair growth and collagen production. And so there are many benefits to this, but again, it really needs to be in the right hands with a prescription and physician supervised.
Okay, I think this is kind of exciting, because I feel like we're on the cusp of some major changes in healthcare. RFK is a big proponent of this, right? Yes. He is behind this because he has seen some of the research, but it's getting a lot of play right now in social media. Everybody, the worst, I think one of the worst things that can happen is it becomes a TikTok fad because then it's off the rails. Everybody who shouldn't be talking about it is
talking about it.
So is our excitement about it right now, and because there's a lot of excitement, folks, is that outpacing the science of it? What do you think?
Yes, because first of all, it's going to be hard to get science on this stuff. We're going to be a big experiment for the most part, just people out there trying these things, because there's no incentive for really the big pharmaceutical industry to do any research on this. Same with, unless there was a government grant, there's not a whole lot of incentive, because things like BPC 157, that was a molecule that was discovered in the 1990s, and it's just not patentable.
Okay, which leads me into the big topic, and this is where I'm really interested to get some input. And I've got a little angel and a devil here next to Big Pharma, big pharmaceuticals, because we all know that pharmaceutical companies who spend billions on research do come up with life-saving, groundbreaking medicines.
Absolutely, yes.
However, you just said something critical. Right now you can only get this in a rat research vein, and just if you haven't heard of it, people are buying these things like crazy because they're saying they work great. Tell me, let's dive into that. And the problem, I think you mentioned this, is and I agree, if pharmaceuticals aren't making money, then why would they do it?
Why would they do the research?
And
you're talking most places, most big pharmaceutical companies, they're doing, it's more than 10 years of research. It's millions to billions of dollars that they have to invest to invent or come up with a certain product. And if the generic is already running rampant on gray market websites and already in 503A compound pharmacies, what's their incentive? So I don't think it's necessarily they're the bad guy. It just has to make sense.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think, given that where the gray market is, are we going to see gains in this area? Is popularity just going to push it through? Because, again, peptide in GLP-1 is changing the planet. I just saw a report last week that they're seeing early reports that it could stall cancer. It is showing to stall or arrest some tumors, GLP-1s, weight loss drugs.
Yes, they're very anti-inflammatory.
Well, I'm saying if we seem to be cracking open this code on peptides, do you think we're going to see more pharmaceuticals invested, or do you think it's going to be gray market? What do you see as being coming next?
I hope that we see more pharmaceutical companies start to try to engineer some of these things, because that's how GLP came about. We make GLP, yes, but our GLP molecule only lasts in our system for about 2 minutes. And what they did was bioengineer it to make the GLP last 7 days, which is why you give your shot once a week. And so if they can modify the molecule to where they can patent it, that might be a good direction, but I'm still trying to get big pharmaceutical companies to come out with testosterone for women. So,
right,
yeah.
Who has a huge market, which we talked about. I don't understand that at all. All right, we could actually go a lot deeper in this, but I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap it up. You see patients every day. You've got a waiting list. What do you see being as the future of this? Do you think? And with your finger on the pulse, do you have more people asking you about peptides?
Absolutely.
What do you say?
So coming in July, the end of July of this year, there's going to be a whole review of 12 compounds or 12 peptides that were taken, I don't want to say taken away from use, especially in compound pharmacies, but they were put back onto a Category 2 list to say, look, these are restricted. We don't have enough evidence. We don't have enough research to approve these peptides. And, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made a big to-do about it, and he's like, no, we need to bring these things back. And so they're coming back under review with the FDA. The thing with the FDA is the FDA comes up for rules for medications for diseases. There is no incentive for them for longevity, healing, optimization, anti-aging. They only approve medications for disease processes, and aging is not considered a disease. And so it's not just big pharmaceutical companies. It's not just the FDA. So when people say, I don't know if I want to do something that's not FDA approved, well, that's probably not a great thing, because if you're just doing things for FDA approval, that means you're just sick.
Right, okay.
So I'm hoping to see some movement in the fact that, first of all, if we can get these back in the hands of 503A compound pharmacies, we're getting a cleaner product. Because right now it's the wild west out there. You've got gray market, you've got black market, you've got powders coming in from China that people are using, and they could be full of endotoxins. There's cases of fungal meningitis from these things. And so if it's done in a correct and appropriate manner, I think these can be very beneficial, but our physicians and clinicians need to get more astute in these things and understand that people are looking for wellness.
See, and that's a great way for me to kind of wrap this up. As I see you and what you're doing, and people that are in a field like you're really trying to shine the light and get on the megaphone about wellness and health, which is in your name, instead of fighting diseases. It's how do we feel better and get better in healthier ways. And what I see is you're having to walk a tightrope between educating people and saying, here's things you can do, but we've got to do it safely. We've got to make sure we're getting clean product, because as we talked about yesterday, compound pharmacies are not a bad thing. They're getting bad press right now because the Eli Lillys and the Novo Nordisks don't want you buying a compounded GLP-1, so they spend advertising dollars to say danger. Yes. And there are bad ones out there.
Sure.
But there are also great ones. So let's wrap up with your thoughts on that, about compounding pharmacies, and that you told me there are good ones.
And the thing with compound pharmacies, the ones that are allowed to make these injectable peptides, the GLPs, the ones that are pushing out the majority of that, these are big entities. It's not a small compound pharmacy that's doing this. These are organizations that have an assembly line. They have third-party testing. They're batch testing everything.
They're legit.
And they have lot numbers and expiration dates. So it's just as clean, if not cleaner, than some of the pharmaceutical products we get today from our local pharmacy. And so they aren't bad guys, and they're able to, I compare it to if you're going to buy a suit, you could get one off the rack. That's what you're getting at your local pharmacy, or you can have it tailored. And so compound pharmacies tailor medications to you, the individual, and I can create certain compounds, whether it's hormones and now peptides, to where patients can get 2 or 3 things together, or a combo of things, to get maximum benefit.
That's a great way of putting it. Okay, listen, friends, I know you've got questions, and you don't want to get it from TikTok. You can reach out to Natalie or her team at Trinity Health and Wellness, and they're on Facebook. This is them. The website is trinityhealth-wellness.com, and you can look them up. You can schedule an appointment, get answers. Listen, I firmly believe, and I was ignorant to this until I got schooled, we're on the cusp of big changes, big positive changes, and I really also truly believe you need somebody who knows what they're doing to answer those questions. I'm betting you would welcome those questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that has questions, please call. We'll be getting more information on our website and, of course, our Facebook page where we post more things. I just got my ozone machine yesterday.
Okay. A little sneak peek. Talk briefly about that, because we're going to do something on that. Tell me what that is again.
So ozone is ozone gas, like ozone in our stratosphere.
Yeah.
Yes. And on Earth, or in our stratosphere, it can be an oxidant, but once it hits tissue in your body, it becomes an antioxidant, and it's very beneficial for eliminating cancer cells and bacteria, viruses, funguses, if you have mold toxicity. But it can also be injected into tissue, into joint spaces, and induce healing. It kind of is a beacon for stem cells. There's many uses of ozone. I can basically put it in just about any place in your body except for your lungs, and you can have a beneficial outcome.
Did you know that I'm going to try that? Did you know that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna do a show on that, and I'm gonna be.
He's gonna be the guinea pig.
I may come out as a superhero. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Okay, Natalie, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
I'm smarter when you leave. Hey, friends, if you have a question for us or for Natalie, I can pass that along, or you'd like to see a specific show, email us. We love hearing from you. You can reach us at thecurrenttemp@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out Natalie and her great team, very friendly, and ask them the questions there at Trinity Health-Wellness.com, where you can find them on Facebook. All right, Natalie, thank you again.
You're welcome.
And y'all have a great week.